Hey guys, I'm David. Welcome to the Weird Kid Show. It's awesome having you here today. Here we got another Creators Corner segment. Today we're going to put the spotlight on a guy that I like to call my friend, David Cowger, who owns and runs Unknown Origin Effects. He makes masks and props and costumes. The guy is super talented. He's a veteran, and what's interesting about his story is what led him on the path that he is on today. I'm going to let him tell you that. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this, and we'll check back with you here after the interview. Thanks again for being here. Hey, this is Dave from the Weird Kid Show, and today we have David Cowger from Unknown Origins Effects. How are you, man? Thank you so much for being on the Weird Kid Show.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Good, and you are part of the new segment called Creators Corner.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, as everyone knows, I'm a member of the Trio of Terror, and I know Vic Springsteen from Monster Misfits and Keith from Cobwebs and Candlesticks, my brothers in arms of the Trio of Terror. They bought your rotten fruit, but we're going to hold off and talk about those in a second. I started looking at your stuff as they were talking more about you, and I really liked what I saw, man. So I was interested in knowing more about you and knowing more about the Unknown Origin. But before we get too deep into that, I just want to know what inspired you as a kid. What got you to where you're? What corrupted you?
Well, I guess in a short, my mom's side of the family, she dressed me up in costumes no matter where we were with my dad in the military, and now looking back, my grandpa that passed last month, they were doing their own costume, building their own costumes from back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and I didn't know that about them until I started, you see the photos.
Oh, I bet those were creepy as hell, man.
Oh, it was cool. Like,
Yeah.
I seen one of him, it looked a lot like me, and
Yeah.
he was dressed himself up like a pirate and stuff. It was cool.
Nice. So, and also too, you were in the military. You were in the Coast Guard, and thank you for your service.
Yep, thank you.
You dabbled a little bit with haunts and costuming right before you went in the military, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, could you tell us something profound happened to you while you were serving in the Coast Guard, correct?
Yeah, had a brain injury on board one of the ships I got stationed on, and that switched all gears from thinking career military to then I got medically retired. So,
Mm-hmm. And you got you. There's some byproducts that you have to live with that injury, correct? Or...
oh yeah, I mean migraines obviously is a given, but short-term memory loss, my thyroid conditions, autoimmune disorder that caused that, and basically in short, I guess it affected my pituitary gland, which affects a lot of stuff, and so yeah, I think not so much the injury and even the short-term memory loss, but all the secondary conditions and ailments is more aggravating and harmful now to me, and will be until I pass. Medically. I mean, I don't care about short-term memory loss. Sometimes it's funny. You have some funny. It gets annoying, but constant pains and stuff like that.
I bet when your wife asks you to do something and you remember when she tells you you forgot to do it, you can always say that you forgot to do it, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
Your secret is safe with me, brother. Yeah. Well, anyway, so there again, I wanted to thank you for your service, and but there's something interesting happened while you're in rehab during all of that, and that's what led you to where you are now, and that's what I would really love you to tell the viewers.
Yeah. I like you said, I dabbled with costuming and some haunt stuff before service, and then even in service, I the costumes I built, I'd go and volunteer at haunts, just to keep my haunt spirit fresh, I guess. And then after getting injured, um, I went into what they call the Brain Trauma Recovery Program at Portsmouth Naval Hospital, Portsmouth, Virginia. And while there, they had a art therapy course that they wanted us to make a paper mache mask of how we felt our brain injury internally affected us, and put it kind of in a physical form. Well, that could take all sorts of shapes and stuff, and as I was doing it, the art therapist is like, "Well, you should be teaching this class because all these little tricks and things and certain like paint washes and stuff." And they actually wrote in my exiting paperwork that I needed to focus on some kind of art like that and continue that going because I was so. It was very therapeutic. I was very stress relieved. I was calm. I was, in the element, and up until then, not so much.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Must have been really frustrating that, turn your whole life upside down, I'd imagine.
yeah, I mean, and that's what the program that I was there for. That was the purpose, was to say there's a new you. This
Mhm.
this you pre-injury, it's gone. Regardless if you can keep your shape or keep more of the mentality aspect and lose your shape.
Yeah.
uh, Either way, something is changed. Sleep issues, migraines, back pains, broken bones. That came along with the injuries, the short-term memory loss. All that kind of stuff. Either way, something was for you to be here. You're now completely going to be different,
Mhm.
and so that
Yeah.
was a big part of that program. And they actually put in my exiting paperwork to continue doing some kind of art. So, kind of, I started dabbling and got medically retired in 2015. Moved to Clarksville, Tennessee, where I'm at now in 2015,
Mhm.
and just slowly started working on art as a therapy. Um,
Mhm. And so from what I understand, you ended up with your first uh mask making kit, correct?
yeah, yeah.
So.
My mom bought me a just kind of a beginner stage. I think her and my wife went in together. A beginner stage, like $300 mask making kit from Monster Makers. Came with
Mhm.
the armature, some paints, the basic molding materials. I think just enough to make one full head mask.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know about. I don't even think I knew about face mask or what face. Excuse me, what a face mask versus an overhead mask was at the time. I just knew what I liked, and I collected some masks, and like I was reading that book, and so I started out doing a whole head mask, which was a mistake.
Yeah. 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 And so you just your first mask. Let's see that again.
Yeah, this is first one I ever did, and the reason I call it a mistake was, well, I mean, I particularly like pumpkins and I like clowns. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is my favorite. I don't like what clowns have become today, but I wanted to put two things that I liked together and see something I've never seen, and it's like a pumpkin clown.
Uh-huh.
And I sculpted it, and it was an oil-based clay. Um, and what had went wrong was we got the molding. Uh, we, the back half was fine. When we did the front, somehow we got the mold mixture wrong, and it set up way too fast,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't have thick enough um,
Walls. Yeah.
wall. Yeah, and it kind of broke. So I still had a good back and not a front. So what I ended up doing was I pulled it off. I salvaged the sculpt, and I coated. I don't know how well you can see kind of the wrinkles, but I just took molding latex that you get at like Michaels, and I
Mhm.
just coated it with multiple layers of latex, and then I ended up peeling the latex off the oil based clay, and that's what gave me the mask.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So this is my first sculpt, but also first unsuccessful mold too, and my plans for this guy is to block off or tape off the eyes and nose and foam fill it so it's a fixture because it's thin compared to. I mean, it's what you would get at a store, but it's thin compared to my current quality.
Yeah.
But if I foam fill it and it fills out fine, I might be able to make it like a master and remold over it and then be able to do some reproductions of it. But
Uh-huh.
that was my first piece, and obviously a big learning curve.
So tell me, at what point in time did you start selling where you started to realize that it could possibly be a lucrative business?
Well, so like I mentioned, the art therapist put in their exiting notes about doing that, and it's one thing to know how something makes you feel, but for others to give you input of what they see, it's somewhat validating. Um, like I said, when I left Virginia in early 2015 and came to Clarksville, Tennessee, I was doing like spray art, on big poster boards and the worlds and mountains and all that stuff that you can see people doing on YouTube all the time. And I did a few masks just to see if really getting into the mask making was for me instead of going through the time to sculpt and mold. Let's just start out with a blank mask and and go from there. And I still have the first mask I painted from
Uh-huh.
another artist. So I really enjoyed it. I liked how it came out, and um, what really kind of put me over the edge to start doing stuff was Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky, in the fall of 2015. Um, I I heard they had like a free military day and a kids day, and so we went for all 3 days of the weekend, and I knew there was 4 cast members from the show Face Off that was going to be there from different seasons, and one in particular that I really wanted to meet and talk to was Ben Peter, who I still chat with occasionally, because he was a Marine and a vet, and obviously went into doing the face-off stuff. So an artist, so I'm like, well, if anyone can give me some insight as how to transition, maybe as a veteran looking for that outlet, maybe he can.
Uh-huh.
And so just I was just talking with him, and a few other people inspired me. Like, hey, there's nothing holding back. You just got to do it. And if you're already doing some stuff, because they were looking at my costume I wore that weekend, they said, what goes into this and this and this, the basic principles. That's how you can base off your prices and stuff. And so later that weekend, I think it may have been a Friday, the Saturday was the costume contest, and they had an amateur and professional division. Well, for professionals, if it's something like if you worked as a effects artist or something in that avenue professionally, haunted houses, I don't know, then you were in the professional division. Amateurs, if you just did it as a hobby like I did at the
Uh-huh.
time, then that's what you were in. So I signed up for the amateur division. Well, uh, Ben Peter and 3 other face-off effects artists, uh, and I think someone from a movie, because it was like actors and actresses from horror movies and stuff, and then the guy who Wicked Beard Productions, he was over the costume contest, and they ended up bumping me up from amateur to professional,
Wow.
and gave me first. I got first place,
Wow.
and
Awesome.
so I'm like, wow, this is because it's not like I didn't know what to expect, but I thought, this obviously isn't like a bar scene costume contest where everybody, yeah, we cheer for that guy, we like that costume, and then something better comes up, but you like the other person better, so you don't cheer.
Yeah.
They actually, you came up on stage and they drilled you about what you did. And
Wow.
that's something I like about, and I hate that his name escapes me, but the guy over Wicked Beard Productions who hosts that contest, he's like, don't waste your time coming up here. Basically, if you bought something from a store and you're just here to show off, if you actually put some kind of, if you bought something and made it your own, or you made something completely, that's what we're showcasing.
Yeah.
When we want to know the artistic value in it and stuff. So they, you get up on stage and they drill you about like, hey, how'd you do this? Did you make this out of that? You are the one that made, and obviously yes, and a lot of that costume, Dr. Ivine, the eyeball monster, it's on my page. Was a lot of fabricating and stuff like that. And they must have been impressed by it, at least to an extent, because they moved me from amateur to professional and just gave me first place.
Man, that's awesome.
And so that right there was a big turning point. Talking to Ben Peter, who was a veteran and artist, uh, being seen by other effects artists that have been in the industry, that was very validating. So I'm like, wow, maybe there's something to this. So it was pretty much as soon as I left that show in September, started getting materials I needed, that unknown origin effects. I took a vote from friends and family, like, hey, should I call it Unknown Origin Studios, Designs, whatever, whatever, like, and that's what, and I'll do that a lot. The more you look at my stuff or my posts, you'll see I'll do a sketch or 5 sketches and be like, okay, what's the next Unknown Origin Effects original mask, and I'll let people decide,
Yeah.
because and I'm bad. That's one thing that came with the brain injury. I'm bad at making decisions. My wife has to order off the menu for me, even if I know what I want. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't make decisions hardly.
Yeah.
She's basically been my caregiver and helped a lot. If it wasn't for her, I'd be dead 3 times over. But
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So that. And my first show I ever did, I just did some paintings and a few masks, and I sold my first mask, and that again, like, just wow. So I think my page was called Paintings by Dave or something like that, and, and then it changed in December of, I think, like December 13th or December 15th of 2015. It changed to Unknown Origin Effects. So
For a guy with a brain injury, man, you remember years and dates and stuff, because I can't remember what yesterday. So.
well, and that's the weird thing. Like, my wife can tell me, like, hey, take the detergent down to the basement to the laundry or whatever, and I could do it. And then I'll see that detergent gone like 2 hours later and be like, babe, if you wanted me to do it, let me do it. Don't do it for me. She's like, babe, you already did it like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
On the flip side, um, she can tell me to do that, and I'll fart and totally forget that she even said anything. So, yeah, it's weird. Like, when it comes to certain particulars, I'm like on the ball, and I think the military really instilled that, like, CYA, when it comes to medical or really anything, just cover your own ass.
Yeah.
And my dad, he still is very, very particular about stuff, and so I don't know. I'm very detail oriented when it comes to some stuff, and some stuff is just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So where are you at now? I mean, you have to, like, last time I talked to you, you said you had to tell people to hold off. I need a break with my family here because the orders were just coming in like crazy.
Yeah. So so as you can imagine, about March time frame of this year, when they officially considered a pandemic and shutdown started, um, we were prepping for multiple shows, because not only are online and Facebook orders, but um, we like traveling around and actually meeting people that get our stuff. And so we do a few little small community events, like a heritage festival in Horse Cave, Kentucky. That's like one of our favorite ones. Smallest little town, but when something like this shows up, it's like, whoa, that's cool. And they've been good to us, so we always go back. And then there's other, like, bigger horror conventions or something like that. But we always usually have planned almost by December of the previous year, well, our next 8 to 12 months is going to be show wise. And of course, stuff pops up. So we had like 4 or 5 scheduled shows that completely canceled in March, and then Trans World, obviously, that got pushed back.
And you usually make Trans World. You make a point to go to Trans World.
We don't, as patrons, we don't been there. I would like to. It's just the setup cost is crazy expensive.
It's like $1,200 or something like that. Right?
Yeah. And if you don't make a certain deadline, then it's like an extra $200 or $300. Yeah. And so yeah, maybe next year. I might have to start a GoFundMe just for that. Help me the road to Transworld, So
Yeah.
I don't know. But
But it is the Mecca, though, isn't it? Or one of
yeah.
the
Yep.
Mecca of haunted, events for
Yep.
purchases.
And I would
So
love to get there. And we actually was scheduled for mid the Midwest Hunters Convention, which is kind of secondary Transworld,
hmm
but it's along the same line. Artists, they do workshops and stuff, and many times it's in like Ohio, somewhere in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and I think it got switched to Chicago last year. But my wife was pregnant with our daughter, and so that got canceled. So we just kind of got hit with cancellations and all sorts of stuff. But we have a local oddity shop uptown, and they were trying to get me in there a few times with my stuff, and they new ownership took over, and it seemed to work out a little bit better. So, I put my stuff up, my current stock, I put it up there, and as soon as that happened, bing, 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 just started getting calls and orders left and right, and I'm like, you know, crap.
Nice.
Some things were overlapping, so I could pull from that and put something else up there at that shop, and other things. Mostly commission work this year. I really thought it was going to be a dead year because the mask thing and buying
Yeah.
items online, and but no, this year has been chaotic with commissions. On top of our normal customers that are local that still get with us about stuff, and then I was I'm helping sponsor a haunted house in Illinois where me and my wife's originally from, and so I've been traveling for that, and then we started the website. so
hmm
so a lot of things kind of hitting at once when I thought it was going to be kind of a dead year because of our shows. Usually I'm in crunch, trying to get okay. We're going to this show, but then the weekend after we're going to that show, and I'm only going to have like 5 days in between the start and finish of one. Get
hmm
this and this, so I got to have a big supply going to the first show, so it can carry over to the second. And usually that's the crunch style, that I'm in. But it's
So, in
been
other words, something that ended up that was started as therapy for your brain injury is now a lucrative business for you. That's thriving.
yeah, definitely started out as therapeutic, and then kind of turned more into a hobby. I'll make stuff for me, and if someone's interested in getting it, okay, no big deal, just relax. And then now it's yeah.
But you don't just make latex masks. From what I understand, there's something that's very popular that you carry, that you created, and that's this rotten fruit.
Yeah, so and I don't even know where the idea came, but I'm like, I need to do this like ferocious food line or just something different because you see the same a lot of different companies, not to knock anybody, but you see a lot of the same things like barrel toppers of this kind or a hanging this, a hanging that, and I want to do my own barrel topper eventually, like 50 or a 5 gallon bucket, but I'm like, what if, kind of like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes kind of thing? What if nice size, life size fruit, zombies in a way, and I give them all different looks and appearances. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, one of them I have right here is the pear,
And that is cool. I love that.
and he's kind of got a scarecrow look to him. He's got stitching along up his vertically, and then he's got a when I did the sculpt, I stamped in kind of like a burlap texture. So when I do a light dry brush toward the end of everything, you start picking up some of the other detail you might not be able to see in the photo. But then he's got kind of like that drawstring stretched mouth of like a
Yeah,
burlap, you
that
know.
is crazy.
So I've done this guy in like this kind of rotted green look. I've done him in brown, and I'm thinking I might do one in orange just to see what it looks like. Um, Maybe more like a little pumpkin versus a pear, but that's one that's been pretty popular since we started the website. Um, and our mutual friend Vic gave me the idea for the apple.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we have the pear, an apple, the mushroom, and a potato. The
Mm-hmm.
potato is the very first. I call it terror tater. That was the
Terror
very
tater.
yeah. That was the very first one I made. And honestly, I think I was looking at a sack of potatoes and just holding it. I'm like, how easy that would be, just like a lumpy little oval with some spuds coming off of it, and just give it a creepy face.
Uh-huh.
You know, and that's how that started. And I want to start implementing some armature wire into them and giving them little legs and hands with
Oh
weapons.
yeah. That'd be cool, yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of expanding on the idea, but yeah. So those have been pretty popular little props, and they're, like I said, life size. I have a couple other ones that are sculpted up, ready to try to finish molding here soon. But I have a whole sketchbook of all the different fruits or vegetables that I want to get done. So
Uh-huh. And these are available for people to buy. They can go on your website and order these. What do you call the fruit line altogether?
the ferocious foods.
Ferocious Foods. Okay,
Yep,
so that's something that people can go and check on, and then of course you've got samples of your various masks that people can purchase.
yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, you were just working on you and I started talking. You were working on one recently called I think you called it Glass Face.
Yeah.
A pretty nightmarish looking character with like shards of broken glass protruding out of its mouth, and you've made a few of those, haven't you?
I made one of those, and I just sent off the other variation with the same base mask last night. That was covered in bandages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
So,
yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I'm gonna provide people with pictures and everything like that. But I thought they looked great. So, what can we expect from Unknown Origins effects this coming New Year? What's your plan? Do you got anything coming here that people need to keep an eye out on? Or
uh, well, mask wise, I'm gonna be bumping out at least one Christmas oriented character. The haunt that I sponsor, they're doing the Christmas haunt for the first year this year.
mm-hmm.
So they really want to change up some characters and obviously, some themes to match Christmas versus, hey, it's Christmas time and we're still doing our haunt. So sometimes they'll give me an idea, or because they need something that kind of puts a fire under me to get something done. So I want to do a real creepy snowman mask.
uh,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen some. Uh, I bought one secondhand from a guy overseas, but the original artist was here, and it barely fits my son's head.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool looking in the photos, but barely fit, a child size head. And the other one that I seen that I thought about buying was from Alan Hops. I think he
The
fabricates
evil,
and
the
puts
evil
out.
elves, or yeah, he does evil elves and Krampus. And I was just gonna say, because you remind me of this. I was having a conversation. I don't know if it was in one of our live streams with the Tree of Terror live streams, but uh, those Christmas haunt events are starting to become more and more and more and more mainstream. They're becoming more and more popular, and more haunts are doing them than ever.
Yep.
And it just seems like it's really gaining traction with the Alan Hops. I think is one of the people that really put Krampus on the map. And I know he does all these evil elves that a lot of those will end up going to Dark Hour Haunted House.
Right.
But and now I'm just hearing all across the U.S. all these different people that are starting to take an interest in doing these Christmas haunts, and I think it's spectacular. I think it's also there's a lot to tap into there. There's so much you can do. You know?
Oh yeah, and I think this year in particular, some of the haunts unfortunately couldn't open or couldn't follow guidelines and didn't want to open. Uh, so their stuff is on the back burner, obviously. But the ones that have opened, and I believe this too, they're like, people have been bored so long throughout this pandemic. If they like my wife, for instance, she online orders and does the curbside pickup kind of stuff. But we've been in Walmart once in like the last 8, 9 months, um, stuff like that. So it's like people are probably bored, and even if they're back to work and doing whatever, we need to give them an avenue of doing something. So the haunts that can open, like the one I sponsor, the numbers have doubled what they typically have done in past years as far as attendance. And I think because they can open, that's a perfect avenue to be like, okay, let's keep this ball rolling and people, giving people something to do. So the Christmas haunt, and then maybe next year we're coming into this next 2021 doing like the Valentine's Day thing. I mean, that seems to be something that's catching on too. And then some haunts have a midsummer haunt to where June or July they'll do 1 or 2 weekends, kind of showing you the show that they're prepping for the Halloween season.
Yeah. No, that's great. Okay. Well, David, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here and do this interview today. And
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to provide everyone with the link to your website and your Facebook page, and encourage everyone to go check out your work.
Appreciate
And and buy from you. Give you money. And I don't know how. I have to look in the map, like on Google Earth, but here down in Florida, up in Tampa, come April, they're having Spooky Empire. I don't know if you've heard of that event. It's a pretty big
No, I
one.
haven't.
Yeah, and it's a big event. They used to hold it in Orlando, but they've moved the venue to Tampa. And I'm really gonna focus on going this April. I was trying to get some of these people I've made contact with, connections with on Facebook to come join me.
That'd be
We'll
cool.
we'll talk about that. I'm gonna try to get Vic and Keith to come down and stuff. But I'd love to have people like you come down and we all meet up and break bread.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I appreciate it again, David. And there again, like I said, I'm going to provide everyone with the links, and I encourage everybody to go check out your work. And I thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for the interview. So I appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Please, I'm going to put David's information down in the description. I encourage you, go check out his work. Invest in him. He's a super talented guy. He's coming up with some great stuff. The rotten fruit line is really, really cool. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe and hit the bell. It's going to notify you when I upload future videos. Check out my brothers, the Trio of Terror, which is myself, Keith from Cobwebs and Candlesticks, and Vic Springston from Monster Misfits. Between the three of us, Halloween is 365 days a year. We're building constantly. Okay? So anyways, I appreciate you guys so much. And until next time, peace.